What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Telescope Talks, a product of the Telescope. My name is Connor Larson. I'm a staff writer, and I'm joined here by my partner, co-host,
Quinton Hayek. I'm a staff writer here as well.
And today we're going to be giving out our 2024 NFL mock draft, the official mock draft of the Telescope. The NFL draft kicks off on Thursday, April 25th, so we're a few days away, and we're going to be giving out our full first-round mock draft here today.
And starting off, we'll go with the first overall pick. The Bears hold this pick thanks to the Panthers making a very interesting decision and giving it to them. Caleb Williams going first overall, USC quarterback, 2022 Heisman winner. Really the only no-brainer pick of this draft. I mean, I don't see, after this pick, it really just come down to just shots in the dark on who goes where and who gets traded, who trades their picks. Pros about this guy, playmaker, of course. I mean, he's Mahomes-esque. Makes crazy throws, can run, elite arm strength. The only things that can stand out as a con or a problem could be the fact that he plays hero ball. He runs around. People that are players that are compared to Mahomes usually can be a bad thing, just because the amount of running and chasing and trying to play hero ball can cause a lot of problems. But for Caleb Williams, I mean, it has worked out for him out at USC, and it's just a question if it'll transfer to the NFL.
Yeah, and this is the ideal situation for a rookie quarterback, especially of Caleb Williams' caliber, with all of the weapons they brought in this offseason and last offseason, and just the improvement overall on the Bears roster on both the offensive and defensive side. So going to number 2, we have the Washington Commanders. This is where the draft really begins, because Caleb Williams, although it's not announced, most likely the number 1 pick, Commanders are going to take a quarterback. The question is, who will they take? And we have Jayden Daniels, the 2023 Heisman Trophy winner, out of LSU, threw for 40 touchdown passes last season, and he is a elite level prospect. His arm is incredible. His ability to make throws into windows where only his receiver can catch the football, as well as his elite running speed. He might be faster than Lamar Jackson, who's arguably the fastest quarterback currently in the NFL. And Washington needs a quarterback. Sam Howell's gone. He played bad last season. But there's a lot of other holes on this Washington team. How will they protect him? They allowed 65 sacks to Sam Howell last season. Is Jayden Daniels walking into a situation where he could potentially struggle in his first season? But we do have Jayden Daniels going number 2 to Washington.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit, especially on the fact that Sam Howell last year, threw for 2020 on not 2020 the year, but 20 touchdowns and 20 interceptions, really. And the Commanders really need a quarterback who's not going to rely on the throw as much, but can also run and play that elite role. When you look at that offense, you got Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dodson as your 2 receivers. Then your running backs, you got Brian Robinson, and you've got Austin Eckler. And that O-line is atrocious. So you've got some playmakers, but you need a quarterback who's going to be able to make it work. And we believe Jayden Daniels probably can do that the best. And moving on to our 3rd pick, with the Patriots, 3rd overall, we have him taking Drake May out of UNC. Drake May, 6'4", elite arm strength, led the FBS in a PFF passer rating between the hashes, which is important, with a 94.8, which is really important because in the NFL, passing between the hashes and between numbers is very difficult. The elite play calling, the elite players, but the middle of the field is definitely the hardest way to pass. And seeing that from Drake May as a pro for him is a very big upside. Problems with his gameplay, though, is that he is also a hero ball quarterback. He likes to run. He likes to extend plays. Unfortunately for Drake May, he also led very high at 19.6% in pressure to sack rate, which is not good in the NFL. The top quarterbacks in the NFL were 10 to 15% sack rate when facing pressure. And on top of that, his lack of consistency with accuracy, that kind of plays a part into his sack rate, but he's forcing throws. He's not setting his feet in time. The outside of the field's tough for him when it comes to that, because when you're throwing a strength, middle of the field's perfect. You got guys right there. When you're throwing outside, you got to get the angle, the lob, the arch.
Yeah.
And Drake May struggles with that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for Drake May is he is the prototypical quarterback. Size, strength, arm strength, especially Drake May's arm strength is among the top in the class. The areas for concern with him, you mentioned, he also did play on a very bad UNC football team where, he has to come make these comeback plays, try and win the game with his own talent, which does force him into bad situations, bad numbers. The real question for him, and we have him going to New England, is what is the structure going to look like? New head coach, you don't have a GM. There's no really weapons around him for him to throw to. This is a very interesting situation for a quarterback, especially a young quarterback. Drake May is only a redshirt sophomore coming out of UNC.
Yeah, we could really see the Patriots kind of a similar situation as UNC. Bad weapons, bad O-line, just the tough offense to work with. So
yeah. Moving on to number 4, we have the Arizona Cardinals sitting here at 4th overall. This is a potential trade spot, depending on how the draft plays out. Let's say a quarterback doesn't go in the top. Let's say 3 quarterbacks don't go. 1, 2, 3. This could be a spot where a team trades up, or the Cardinals can stay put and draft arguably the best player and the clear number 1 wide receiver in this draft, Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State. This guy is elite. He's going to be a top 5, top potential 3 receiver in the NFL at some point in his career. His strength, his size, his ability to make plays at any point in the game is the most elite out of any receiver in this draft. And Arizona needs a receiver for Kyler Murray. They have no offensive weapons on the outside, and this is a perfect home run pick if you're the Arizona Cardinals sitting there at number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. I really hope Marvin Harrison would fall number 5 to my Chargers, but that's just not going to happen realistically unless you, like you said, a trade happens. But Marvin Harrison Jr. absolutely to the Cardinals. The big part about him that I really like with the Cardinals is that they, of course, don't really have any good receivers, even number 2. And when it comes to another receiver like Malik Neighbors, who's right down there, he's not, compared to Marvin Harrison, I don't see him as the number 1 that's going to just make that catch and make that play. For Malik Neighbors, it's more a number 2 role of making people miss the screen plays, the more creative plays. But you don't want to screw around here at number 4, especially with that kind of offense and Kyler Murray aging and injury prone. You want to get a receiver that's going to be trustworthy. And here we are at pick number 5, the Chargers. Our prediction for them is a trade down with the Vikings for the 11th and 23rd overall pick. And the Vikings trade up, and of course, everyone's been hearing it. The Vikings will take J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Now, a controversial pick, absolutely. Not one that I'm necessarily a fan of, but it's one that we believe will happen. The pros of McCarthy, really, if he's in the right offense with the right coaches, he can be a top 15 quarterback. He can play well. He can be serviceable. He won't make the plays that Mahomes, that Josh Allen make, but he can be up there with the type of Brock Purdy play where He's sitting in the pocket. Yeah, sitting in the pocket, play action, bootleg, running out, making simple throws, and elevating the offense just to keep it simplistic, and the defense can kind of carry their way through games. The cons for him, I kind of already listed it a bit. He's a point and shoot thrower. He looks where he wants to throw, and he throws it. He's light. He's only 202 pounds. Should be concerning, especially if you're in the kind of offense where you're running around a lot. If the O-line's not suitable, it could be a problem. But of course, like in a Shanahan offense, we talked about this earlier, with a Kevin O'Connell kind of offense, we can make it work, right? We can run him outside the pocket, make him move, and make the throws to our elite receivers. Yeah,
and with him going to the Vikings here in this mock, I mean, this is a perfect situation, not only for him, but for really any rookie quarterback that is fortunate enough to go to the Vikings. When you have the number 1 receiver in football, Justin Jefferson, followed by Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and then an offensive head coach in Kevin O'Connell, this is a perfect situation. And now McCarthy, on the other hand, is he that elite level prospect that you want to trade up to number 5 overall and get? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out when he does play in the NFL. Threw for 22 touchdowns, threw only 300 passes at Michigan last season. He wasn't asked to throw. It really wasn't. Yeah. Now in the NFL, when you have these guys, these weapons with the Vikings, he's going to be asked to throw. But he is going to a good situation, potentially in Minnesota. Mm. Moving on here to number 6 is the New York Giants. This is a team that could trade up and draft a quarterback. That has been the rumor going around recently. But they also they have tons of needs. Receiver, offensive line, even some areas in the secondary. So we have them taking Malik Neighbors, the number 2 receiver in this class out of LSU. When you look at this team, the Giants and their weapons on the outside, it's pretty much non-existent. Darius Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, Isaiah McKenzie, they are lacking not only a number 1, but you could say a number 2 receiver as well. Neighbors is elite at LSU, part of that Jaden Daniels team down there. 6 foot, 200 pounds, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns last season. He's going to help this team. The question is Daniel Jones going to be able to make him successful at the NFL level?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. That's a very big ask of Daniel Jones. But yeah, this offense of the Giants, I mean, the offense and defense, it all needs to be burned down on the ground. I mean, they got themselves a good coach. They made the playoffs for 1 year. They won a playoff game, right?
Yeah.
And they got eliminated in the second round divisional. But
paid Daniel Jones $40 million a year.
Paid him way too much money to try his best. But unfortunately, he's just not that guy. Malik Neighbors will definitely help, but this is definitely a spot where they should trade down and should get some more draft capital. But Malik Neighbors is definitely not a bad pick for this offense. They desperately need a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Moving on to the 7th pick. 7th overall, we have the Titans. I had them selecting Joe Alt. Pro. He's 6'8". He's huge. He's absolutely ginormous. He's a big guy. Played for Notre Dame. Great pass blocker. Great run blocker. His only struggles do come in the run game. The outside zones can be a problem, moving around a lot. But the Titans need an offensive lineman, and I think Joe Wall is right there for him. Perfect fit. The best part about it is that the Titans have literally the worst passing offensive line in the pass blocking offensive line in the 2023 season. Zoltan Boudet, I believe you pronounce it, of PFF described as atrocious, 32nd in pass blocking. ESPN ranked them with the 4th most sacks given up at 64. If you're going to be protecting a quarterback like Will Levis, if you like him or not, it's only his second year. You got to kind of work around him or work with him. And I think getting an offensive lineman right here is a good pick.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this team, they drafted an offensive lineman last year, first round, Pete Skoronski out of Northwestern. You put Joe Alt on that other side or right next to him, depending on, what you want to do with this position on the offensive line to protect Will Levis, who is coming into his second year with a new head coach. The Titans are in an interesting spot. They're really nowhere near competing. But this is a great foundational pick for the next 10 plus years to really set your offensive line up to be an elite unit down the road. Number 8 is Atlanta. The Falcons sitting here with the 8th overall pick. They brought in Kirk Cousins in the offseason. They have tons of playmakers on offense, but they are lacking on the defensive side of the football, in particular in the pass rush. Last season, they were 8th in pass defense, but they were 20th in rushing defense. They allowed 11 rushing touchdowns. They're lacking a pass rusher or an edge on the on that defensive line. And we have Dallas Turner out of Alabama going here to the Falcons, staying pretty close to home, going to the Falcons with a new head coach. They need a defensive. They need someone to, blow up some plays on the defensive side of the ball, coming off that line, getting after the quarterback. That's something they've been missing for a very long time. And Dallas Turner's arguably the best defensive player in this draft, going here to the Falcons at number 8.
Yeah, last year we saw was a Will Anderson from Alabama go. And this year to Dallas Turner. Alabama makes some dogs on the D-line, and the Falcons absolutely desperately need a pass rush. They've been selling a lot of guys on defense because of age, and a young guy like Dallas Turner is a perfect fit. For our next pick, with 9th overall, we have the Bears. They went Caleb Williams first overall. What do you do here? You protect them, right? We got our receivers. We got our running backs. We got most of our offense, except for a little bit of O-line pieces. Olu Fashanu out of Penn State is a great pick. Tall, great pass blocker, big guy. I mean, you could trade down here for the Bears, but I really think staying here and just going with a safe pick like Olu and grabbing a guy who's solid, strong, tall is a great move just for Caleb Williams. Of course, if I was the Bears, I'd be asking Caleb Williams, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about this guy? Do you know this guy? You're friends with this guy? And seeing what he likes, because this is going to be his offense, right? He's running this offense. He wants it to be the way he wants it to be. But I do think Olu's a great pick here.
Yeah, Fashanu's huge. 6'6", 312 pounds. This guy's an absolute unit. They addressed the O-line last year, drafting Darnell Wright in the first round. Mm-hmm. Why not? I mean, why not continue to beef up this O-line to protect your young, number 1 overall pick, franchise quarterback? Like I said, like you said, they have weapons. The Bears have weapons on this team, and there's some guys here available in this draft. Rome Odunze, Brock Bowers, but why not get someone up front to protect Caleb Williams? So now we move on to the Jets. The last pick in this top 10, number 10 overall. There's some good players sitting here. Rome Odunze is right here in the Jets' lap. Mm-hmm. But how about Brock Bowers out of the University of Georgia, the best tight end in this class, a guy who I think has been underrated throughout this whole process. Tight end, is it really a position of need, especially when you have receivers, O-linemen, and quarterbacks at the top of this class? But Brock Bowers is going to be an elite tight end in the NFL. Get a guy over the middle for Aaron Rodgers coming back from that Achilles. You still have Garrett Wilson. You brought in Mike Williams. They have the pieces in place. Their O-line, if it's healthy, can be good. If you get Aaron Rodgers, an elite tight end up the middle of the field, this could be a home run pick for the Jets going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Brock Bowers really has fallen down this draft over the years. I remember last year he was, top three. Yeah,
top 3,
exactly.
Top 4 pick.
And then his injury, of course, and then play most of the season. And then maybe at number 5, go to the Chargers. Chargers stack up on good pass blocking tight ends. Don't really need another tight end. And then Brock Bowers here, he is falling at number 10 for the Jets. Great pick. Aaron Rodgers is going to need some reliable receivers, especially with, of course, the O-line's a problem. We considered going O-line here, but I think Brock Bowers is also a great pass blocker, great run blocker, could play that role as well as a good blocker. And we'll go here through number 11 for the Chargers. I'll go a little more in depth than we need to be on this one because it's my Chargers, so I absolutely will.
It's acceptable.
Talk about them a little more than I need to. But Rome Odunze from Washington going here. This is the 11th pick from the Vikings. Rome Odunze, a great receiver, high point the ball, got good speed. Of course, elevated Penix to where he could be with Washington, a great offense. On the Chargers side of the ball, though, they need a receiver. They need number 1. They, of course, got rid of Keenan Allen. They got rid of Mike Williams. They're going to be in desperate need of some playmakers for Herbert to throw to. One thing I always point towards, though, about Rome Odunze and just any kind of wide receiver in general going to the Chargers is that in a Harbaugh offense, you don't need a bunch of good receivers. You don't need a bunch of good playmakers that the quarterback needs to throw to. You just need a good run game and a quarterback who can do his job, right? Rome Odunze, of course, would be a great step up. And I think it's great value here at number 11, absolutely. And especially getting the 11th and 23rd pick. I mean, you have room to make some moves here, that big swings.
Especially after losing your top 2 receivers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. You need someone to replace him.
Yeah. As much as I say Harbaugh can work with people, work with anyone, Quinton Johnson and Josh Palmer is not going to cut it. There's no way.
So staying in division in the AFC West at number 12 is the Denver Broncos. This is a spot where you could envision a quarterback. However, just today they acquired Zach Wilson from the Jets. So how about edge rusher Jared Verse out of Florida State University? This is, in my opinion, my favorite prospect on the defensive side of the ball in this class. I know we had Dallas Turner go earlier, but Jared Verse is a beast, man, coming out of Florida State. Going to the Broncos here, they need someone on that defense. Like I said, quarterback could be addressed, but the guys available, we don't like going this early in the first round. Mm-hmm. And I'll stay on the clock here with the Raiders, my favorite team as well. Sitting here at number 13, same thing for them. Quarterback is a potential spot for them to pick. Also, defense, corner, the secondary. But we're going to have them taking offensive lineman Talisa Fuaga out of Oregon State University to help protect your future quarterback, to get the offense going a little bit more. They are lacking on the O-line. And, there's a lot of great offensive linemen in this class. You don't want to pass up on one, draft a quarterback like Penix or Nix who's going to sit behind Minshew for a year or something like that.
Yeah, you can't afford that. Coming in at number 14, overall, the Saints taking Troy Fautanu out of Washington. The Saints, they had a good passing offense. They really did. Derek Carr did a great job for the most part. I mean, he had his falls, but they had passing yards are up there. But what it comes down to for me with the Saints is that they need to prepare for another quarterback. And where they are picking, kind of the middle of the pack, it's like you can't reach for a guy like Bo Nix or Penix, but you kind of need a quarterback at the same time. So the best part for me at this pick is that you just pick a good old lineman, a good strong guy, and you fit him in there for Derek Carr to block for. And you hope for the next coming years you get a better pick where you can get a good quarterback.
Sitting at 15 are the Indianapolis Colts. We have them taking corner Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. The Colts offensively are already set. They have nice pass rushers. The secondary is an area of concern. Arnold or Quinton Mitchell are the 2 top-tier defensive backs in this draft class. We like Arnold here with the Colts. You could really flip-flop these guys. They're not similar players, but they are similarly graded in this class.
Coming in number 16 overall, we have the Seahawks taking Jackson Powers out of Oregon. Kind of similar situation with the Saints here. You got an aging quarterback. You got an aging offense. You still have some weapons, but you're going to need some pass blockers. The Seahawks really just struggle with pass blocking and even run blocking. I mean, as good as a running back as Kenneth Walker was and is, he's still going to need some good blockers up front.
17 to the Jaguars, we have Quinton Mitchell, the other defensive back in this draft class at the top. The Jaguars need someone in that secondary to help, to help this defense out, to help this cornerback room out. And Quinton Mitchell led the FBS last season in, I believe, pass deflections. He's one of the most elite coverage corners and man corners in this class. He did come from Toledo, which raises some question for some people. However, you look at guys like Sauce Gardner, who also came from a small school, and he's successful as well.
Coming in number 18, the Bengals. We have them going Byron Murphy to second, defensive tackle out of Texas. The Bengals, they lost DJ Reader, a big part of their defense, a big guy on the D line who could make a dominant push, was very influential for their defense going into the playoffs. Losing him, and reasonably so, he was injury prone, but losing him is a big deal. And you got Sam Hubbard on one side, and I believe Trey Hendrickson still on the other side. You're going to need a guy in the middle to make that defense just a little bit better. That offense is already stacked. They don't need to do anything there. Defense is definitely where they want to go on D-line.
Number 19, the LA Rams. This is their first round selection since 2016.
Wow.
We have them taking Latu. Excuse me for the pronunciation. I couldn't find that guide online. But he's coming out of UCLA. This guy is arguably, according to many scouts and sources, an elite level defensive prospect. The only thing holding him back is he was medically retired from football a few years ago, got reinstated, came back, went to UCLA and dominated. The medicals are going to be the question on how far this guy falls, but he's going to be an elite talent if he is healthy and playing.
At 20th overall to the Steelers, we have Amarius Mims, offensive tackle out of Georgia. Steelers, of course, picked up 2 new quarterbacks, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. One thing I was just thinking about just now, those quarterbacks in really most of their career, or this back end of their careers, have not had any pass blocking. When Russell Wilson with the Seahawks left in a mess, the Broncos didn't set anything up for him correctly. And then now he's back on now he's here on the Steelers, another O-line completely in shambles. And then for Justin Fields, the same thing with the Bears, struggle with no O-line. So I think going here, Amarius Mims out of Georgia, a really big dude on the right side, could definitely block well for either quarterback.
21 is the Miami Dolphins. And how about a replacement for Christian Wilkins? Johnny Newton, defensive tackle out of the University of Illinois. The offensive set is set for this team. But defensively, you have a new defensive coordinator. You lost Christian Wilkins, your best player on that defensive line, Johnny Newton's going to come in and fill that void on that defensive side.
At number 22, we have the Eagles selecting Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. Nate Wiggins, tall dude, a lot of hype recently about him. Big guy. The Eagles, of course, were bottom in passing defense from the secondary. And I could tell I had their defense in fantasy, and it was atrocious. It was absolutely abysmal. But Nate Wiggins did definitely elevate this with cornerbacks like Darius Slade, coach him a bit. I believe Bradbury is still on that defense too.
Yeah.
So he can definitely sit back and kind of relax and kind of take in the NFL as time goes on. Number 23, my Chargers. We got J.C. Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. This is a big pick. I mean, there's rumors about going O-line, top 5. Again, trading down like we did. At 23, I think we got good value here for J.C. Latham. People are saying he's the best tackle in the draft. But besides that, offensive line is definitely a need for the Chargers. Outside of Rashawn Slater on the left side, it gets kind of rough on the guards and even on the right side of the tackle with Trey Pipkins, who's aging and didn't have a great year last year. So protecting Herbert is a must-need for Harbaugh, and he talks about it plenty. The O-line is where the offense protrudes from. Everything comes
foundation
from
of the offense.
Exactly. Yeah. The trenches. Everything comes from there. If the O-line's not good, the offense is not good. It's the only position that the offense relies on completely. So I think J.C. Latham's a great pick there.
Sitting at number 24, the Dallas Cowboys, we have Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. They could go receiver. I've seen running backs mocked. I've seen defense mocked. But you lose Tyron Smith. You need to protect Dak Prescott. This Cowboys team really is in shambles all around. This team is a mess from top to bottom. Ownership down, head coach, quarterback. This isn't a great situation, to be quite frank, but Tyler got in to replace, to help replenish and bring a younger presence to that offensive line.
And here our next pick at pick 24, pick 25, we have the Packers with Cooper DeJean, cornerback / safety out of Iowa. Now, the Packers kind of cleared house with their secondary. They lost their safeties. When it comes down to their cornerbacks, of course, they have Jair Alexander, who's absolutely elite. But I think that Cooper DeJean would fit a lot better in the safety position for them, just because the need for it, right? They don't have a lot of stuff there. They lost Savage. I believe Amos is gone as well. Cooper DeJean played great in Iowa. Not a lot of competition, though, which raises some questions about that. Iowa's always had a good defense, but the kind of competition, the kind of quarterbacks they face can raise eyebrows with Cooper DeJean's legitimacy as a future NFL cornerback or safety.
Number 26 is the Buccaneers. We have them taking Chop Robinson, edge rusher out of Penn State. One of my personal favorites in this draft. Super, super young, raw prospect out of Penn State. This dude had moments of superstardom on that pass rush in Penn State. Coming here to the Bucs, a team that made the playoffs last season, lost some pieces on defense, looking to get younger and add a nice, super high-energy guy in Chop Robinson.
Here at 27, we have the Cardinals taking Darius Robinson, edge out of Missouri. It's a good pick. I mean, they need a pass rusher. They don't have a lot of defense. I mean, it's tough to say it's a good pick because really anything they get here is a good pick because they're missing so many different parts of the defense and offense. So I think Darius Robinson's a good pick here for Missouri.
The Bills at 28, they cleared house on receiver, trading Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis is gone. They need to get someone Josh Allen can throw the ball to. Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU is the pick here to the Bills.
The Lions at 29 going Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama. Kool-Aid McKinstry, absolutely. If this was a name draft, he would definitely win. But here at 29, Kool-Aid McKinstry is a great pick for the Lions. Their passing defense was not very good. Their cornerback room was atrocious. And this would be a good step up for them with Kool-Aid McKinstry.
The Ravens at 30. How about A.D. Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas? This guy ran the fastest 40 in this year's draft class. Absolute super speed threat to go with Zay Flowers, Lamar Jackson. This is going to be one of the fastest teams in the NFL, and I like this pick here to Baltimore.
At pick 31, the 49ers taking Jordan Morgan, offensive tackle out of Arizona. The 49ers, they got a real all-complete. I mean, it might come down to age, it might come down to receiver with the receiver might want to leave just because not enough playing time. But the 49ers going offensive tackle here is a good fit for Brock Purdy just to shore up that offense.
And rounding out the first round, defending Super Bowl champions, Kansas City Chiefs, selecting Xavier Worthy out of Texas, wide receiver. The Chiefs, they brought in Marquise Brown. They have Rashee Rice, although who knows what's going on with that guy off the field. Get Mahomes another weapon. Let's go for the three-peat. And that's going to round out the first round of this mock draft. All right, thank you guys so much for listening to this mock draft from Quinton and myself. We really appreciate your time listening today. Hopefully, these picks, hopefully they all end up correct and we look like geniuses.
That'd be nice.
But signing off from Connor.
Signing off from Quinton.
We'll see you guys next time.